Legends are not born. Legends cannot be made or manufactured. But legends become legends because of their struggles, their journey, and all the obstacles they faced in their life. And that is why Biotecnika thought of chronicalizing the struggles, the achievements, and not just the achievements, the pitfalls, the failures also of the legends, so that our audience is aware how they can become the legends of biotech. Today, I have with me Dr. Subramanya, who is the Dean of Biosciences at Chanakya University. That's his current address. But prior to that, he has passed through enormous challenges, a big set of achievement, which he has already got, I think more than 20 patents plus. But today we are not just going to chronicleize, but we are trying to learn from his journey. We are trying to understand how this legend became legend. So welcome to the show, sir. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you very much.
And let's get started with the same thing which I mentioned. Let's know the HS Subramanya who is here today and how you became. So if you could tell us about your journey in brief.
Thank you. I did not really start my journey as a biotechnologist or somebody who has worked in bioinformatics. My early passion in my life was actually mathematics and physics.
Right.
During my undergrad course or during my post-graduation, I did it in physics. But then there was always one thing which was at the back of my mind is how to find a real-world application of this knowledge.
True.
So biology was an area where I was very fascinated that there is a real-world application I can find in this, for the knowledge I gained in mathematics and physics. That's when the journey into biology started. I joined Indian Institute of Science for my PhD program in the domain of biophysics, in particular structural biology and the X-ray crystallography of viruses, which at that point in time was not very common.
And which year was that?
Challenging.
Which year was that?
I joined Indian Institute of Science in 1988.
1988.
Roughly, little over 30 years now. So at that time, even the computers were just nascent. We had to really store data in, room size, various devices.
Yeah.
There was one computer which was available, which can only do hardly any computation. And we had to many times punch in cards for programming and so on and so forth.
Right.
So that was very challenging to do something like virus crystallography at those points in time without the aid of computers or advanced computers, graphics and so on and so forth. So my journey into biology really started with that kind of a thing. Of course, like in any area, initial days were very challenging for me because I hardly had any knowledge of biology per se. I knew how to do mathematical computations, I knew how to apply physics principles, but I hardly had any biology kind of background. So from those days, I graduated once I completed my PhD in virus crystallography from Indian Institute of Science in 1993. I moved to the Oxford University in the UK. That was at that time, one of the legendary universities, and suddenly I found a lab which was really doing very exciting work.
Right.
So I started my postdoctoral journey by doing, by getting involved in various other aspects of structural biology. Particularly, I started working on DNA replication, recombination, and so on and so forth. So I was very fortunate in a way to have joined the Oxford University because I got the opportunity to do work in the cutting edge areas. Consequently, some of those early work I worked on DNA helicases, DNA ligases, they were published in the best of the journals like Cell and Nature and so on and so forth. That kind of success gives you a lot of confidence.
Certainly.
I got really a lot of confidence. On top of it, apart from doing structural biology, I also got sort of embedded into experimental biology because I had colleagues who were working in many different areas of biology, not just the computational and structural biology. They were working on molecular biology, they were working on cell biology, they were working on pathology and so on and so forth. So because of those colleagues, I started getting involved in doing experiments and started getting involved in doing more and more of biology. So consequently, a transformation into biotechnology came there. It's not just about structural biology. Now I can do a lot more of biotechnology, experimental biology, and so on and so forth. So I moved back. At that time, I was thinking of coming back to India. I wanted to contribute to the Indian, science scenario or biology scenario. So I started looking for opportunities. I got an opportunity at Central Drug Research Institute, which was a CSIR organization dedicated to drug discovery research. Of course, biology, structural biology can contribute to the drug discovery efforts, and therefore I was very excited about this new opportunity. I will set up my own lab, I will discover my own drugs, and do a lot of biology. So I came back to Central Drug Research Institute and established a structural biology facility in the institute. And I also started collaborating with several of the scientists who were working there in the area of drug discovery. So that was my introduction to drug discovery to begin with. So then I worked on a lot of Mycobacterium tuberculosis, potential drug targets. I got funding from central government agencies such as DBT, ICMR, and so on and so forth. So I started working in drug discovery kind of space. And I was really successful to say that, for the new labs that I have set up and the new journey I started, I could really publish very quickly in the initial 2-3 years. In biology, also probably in biotechnology startups, the incubation period is pretty long. You can't really produce something in
overnight.
1 year, 2 years, overnight, and so on and so forth. I would consider myself was able to achieve something because I could publish very well within the first 2-3 years of starting my independent career. But by then, I also realized that, it's very important to have industrial experience if you want to really translate something.
True.
It's not going to happen only with academic organization. We can produce high quality science. Certainly we can bring in possible ideas, but to translate them, I need a industrial experience.
Commercial experience.
That's the time Dr. Reddy's was initiating a new subsidiary in Bangalore called Origin Discovery Technologies. And I was one of the initial employees there. So I thought that, whatever knowledge I gained in drug discovery, I can now translate. So I joined Origin Discovery Technologies in the year 2002. And again, that was a startup at that time. Although Dr. Reddy's backing was there, the company itself was brand new. So the company, we had to build it from the scratch.
True.
That gave me an immense amount of experience in sort of building a company, building an organization, how to make it sustainable, how to make it profitable in the end. Right? So when I joined the company, it was just, as I said, the beginning days, and accounts books were all in the red, and it's only expenditure. There's no revenue.
Of course.
So by the time I left the company, we were able to build 100+ crore.
Wow.
We were able to get large number of clients from almost all major pharma companies, including Novartis, Abbott, Pfizer. We worked with virtually every company that was there in the pharma space. So that again gave me a lot of in-depth understanding of pharma sector. How do they work? What project they work on? How do they make decisions? That's the most important thing. In most of the startups, the advice should be that you should know when to kill a project. It's not about how to take it further, but you should understand when something is not really going to give you
the dead horse theory.
Yeah, because you have to prioritize. You can't really spread your resources on too many things. You have to really focus on something and do something, right? So it really taught me some very important lessons in how to make decisions about the project, how to take it forward, where to stop it, when to kill it, when to progress it, and how to, handle the clients and so on and so forth. So that knowledge was very, very, very valuable for me. But then, by then, the company grew and there were a lot of employees. It was going on the right track. It also came to my mind that, of course, I have gained experience in academia, industry, and so on. but then how do I transmit my experience and knowledge to my younger generation?
Next generation.
So that was what was there in the back of my mind. Of course, companies work on profitability. Companies has its own, mandate. I can't really do that sticking to those mandates.
True.
So I thought that I have to move out and come back to academia if I have to really, transmit this knowledge to my next generation. That too, not any organization, an organization which is focusing on education. Otherwise, you won't be able to do it.
Correct.
Again.
Correct.
So at that time, an opportunity came at the IBAB, and they were looking for a director for IBAB to drive the future programs and so on and so forth. I thought that maybe with my experience, I can really contribute to the next generation by giving them insights from the industry as well as academic knowledge I have gained by doing research for so many number of years.
Right.
Way back, I started working with IBAB, starting from 2014 or 15 or so, but I became the director of IBAB in 2018.
Right.
I started many new industry academia collaborations. We started a new master's degree program in big data biology, realizing the importance of AI in the space of biology.
Right.
And we also started a lot of new research projects with a translational focus and so on and so forth. But then I also realized one more fact, that the entire space is actually moving towards more multidisciplinary education. It's
True.
not just about one domain, right?
Right.
A place like IBAB, which is very focused, of course, they have their mandate and they can really deliver to students. But then if you want to really achieve multidisciplinarity, you need to move to a university. Because in addition to biology or in addition to science in general, you have other domains like management, entrepreneurship, or law, or engineering, and so on and so forth. Right? A university kind of a setup would give you a much broader view of how to train our next generation, how to educate our next generation in multidisciplinary space, which is the current need.
Right.
So that's how I joined Chanakya University.
Right.
About little less than a year ago.
Right. So it's really fascinating how you have passed through all these phases, from academia to setting up your lab to transitioning into industry, leading the company from red in the accounts book to a profitable 100 crore business, then transitioning into IBAB and now Chanakya. And like we were discussing prior to this interview also, what actually made you think like, okay, the next generation certainly needs our hand-holding, but what is your vision at Chanakya University now, which you would like to introduce to the students who join here so that they can do some great things just like you in their career? So what's your vision about the School of Biosciences here?
So, of course, School of Biosciences is actually funded and guided by Dr. Kiran Mazumdar-Shah,
Right.
who is, everybody knows that she's a legend in the space of biotechnology. So we had many brainstorming sessions with her and thinking about what should be the plan and what should be the goal of the university. We also had a lot of brainstorming session with some of the most reputed scientists all over the world, not
Right.
just in India. So, see, one thing that really comes out with all this is there are a few things which we have to do as a university if you want to really train the next generation where they are. At Chanakya University, I believe that we are thinking about 4 different pillars. Okay? One definitely is the student should have an in-depth core knowledge. Nothing should be superficial. You can't just build an empire or a castle over a superficial base. So we want to really give an in-depth core knowledge. Of course, they have to be also skilled in the emerging areas or the contemporary developments in science and technology. Right? Science and technology move extremely fast. unless the students have the relevant skills for today, only a conventional education is not going to work. So our programs are also based on trying to give the current skills. The current skills could be in gene editing, skills could be in application of artificial intelligence in some areas of biology and so on and so forth. But they have to be up to date with the current skills that are available. The third pillar is not enough if they are skilled and if they have the core knowledge. They need to have an innovative thinking or a creative thinking, right? So if you want to really have a creative thinking, the best way to give that is through practical training.
True.
It's not a theoretical subject. You make them do a real world research project. They understand the real world problem, how to solve it, how to creatively think and come up with new solutions to the problem, and so on and so forth. So research is the third pillar of that. They may have the core knowledge, they may have the skills, they may have the research acumen or thinking, but that's also not sufficient to become a person who can really contribute to the society. You need to have a holistic vision as well. You need to develop a personality. Personality is not just about how much knowledge you have, but it's also about other aspects of personality. That may be how do we deal with our neighbors, how do we deal with our colleagues, how do we maintain our relationships, what is the value and ethics that we consider good for us or great for us, and how do we communicate with the rest of the world. Do we have some basic knowledge about various things that we do in life, including finance or data or digital world or something like that, right? So a holistic personality comprises of many other things beyond the core domains.
True.
So developing holistic personality is another pillar. So we want to base our education on these four pillars: the core in-depth knowledge in some subject, the up-to-date skills that are relevant for today's career, and also a creative thinking, and finally a holistic development in terms of a personality development apart from that.
So after listening to your vision, I really feel like why we didn't had a university and professor like you when I was graduating or first graduating. That today's children are so lucky to have somebody who has exposure of industry, academia, and a journey. But now let's zoom back to your journey. I would like to know the defining moments or the toughest moments of your life, which made you what you are today, so that our audience knows what you went through to become what you are, the legend.
Certainly, there were many defining moments in the journey. The first one, it came when we joined the PhD program.
Right.
From outside, it looks like, after 4 years, I'm going to become a doctor. I can put a title as doctor. And of course, Indian Institute of Science is a great organization. I'm going to be an alumni, now currently a student of Indian Institute of Science. But any journey in science is not as rosy as it looks from outside. There are a lot of initial hardships you have to go through, which will make your personality.
Right.
The first 3 years of my PhD, I hardly had any data, any results. It all went in one failure to another failure, one mistake to another mistake, one lack of thing to another lack of thing, and so on and so forth. At the end of third year, I was so frustrated, I thought that I'm never going to get a PhD degree and my career is finished. Right? But then, of course, there were a lot of other PhD students.
Right.
They were enormously experienced professors and guides.
Right.
They told that this is common, this is what happens in science.
Right.
So you keep having that perseverance. You keep working with one focus. You are going to succeed one day. If not today, it's tomorrow. So I always think that tomorrow is going to be a successful day.
Right.
It really happened that way, that one fine morning, whatever was not working for me, everything started working. Now I could find, okay, this is how to make this is how it crystallizes, this is how I can solve the structure, this is where the resource is available for me. I could discover things, right?
Right.
So it taught me that it's very important in science to have that perseverance and dedication. Focus. You have to, if you want to achieve something big, there's only one answer to that. Keep doing it. Don't be afraid of failures. You will succeed one day.
Keep pushing.
So that's very important in science to really make progress. You should not give up.
True.
You should continue with your aspiration. You are going to be successful.
Right.
In future.
Right.
So next defining moment came for me about, I was really having very good publications and academic track record. I could have, I could have really tried for jobs in any of the universities there. In fact, I was offered in the Oxford University, why don't you continue, kind of thing. But then there was a dilemma that, should I really continue somewhere wherever I can find good facilities and good background and so on, or want to come back to India? So that was another defining moment. I think coming back to India really made me look at things with a different perspective. I could contribute to my younger generation. I can contribute to the country. Very, very important for me. There's another defining moment. How to make some hard decisions, right?
True.
The third thing came moving from academia to industry.
You're a true patriot. Huh? You're a true patriot. You came back for the country.
Right. Moving from academia to industry is again not so simple, particularly given the sort of social environment and peer pressure we're going to face here, right? So I was in a central government job and I had to really move back to an industry, to a startup. You never know
what will happen tomorrow.
Right? Are you going to really risk your entire family, move there? But again, I was really focused in terms of I want to do something in the translational space.
Right.
So that gave me the motivation that no matter what happens, let me face it. Okay. So I moved to industry. That was again a defining moment. The last one was this. We were very successful in origin discovery technologies. I could have continued. I could have taken up the next responsibilities or moved to another industry to build. But I wanted to come back to academia.
Because it was a time to give back.
Correct.
Awesome.
I think these were very defining moments in my journey I could recall.
Right.
Right.
You can see that. So Dr. Subramanya had a moment where he was well settled in the industry. He would have continued, but he wanted to give back to the society, and that's the reason he has taken up this responsibility to head the biosciences division of Chanakya University. And given the kind of latitude and longitude of his experience, you guys have a lot to learn if you are, somehow getting associated with Chanakya University in the future. So coming back to now Chanakya University, you shared your vision. So now if you could tell us, you have a vast experience in structural biology, bioinformatics. How are you going to utilize that, and what are the key focus areas of research? Because you mentioned the students are not just going to pursue a curriculum. This is a research-based course. So how are you going to translate all of that experience, and what kind of key research areas we're going to have in Chanakya University?
Right. So we have identified some thematic areas of research.
Right.
Which can have a very high impact, which is very emerging in terms of the areas of biosciences and biotechnology. So first one is actually computational biology. So as you know, the developments that have been happening in the space of artificial intelligence, machine learning, and so on and so forth.
Right.
I think it is going to transform many areas of life, probably all areas of life. That's what I would think. So I think computational biology is one of the very key areas that we are going to focus. And that too, we are going to focus on application of artificial intelligence and machine learning in emerging areas of bioscience. The second is about the disease biology. So of course, there is a lot of disease burden. What is happening over the past centuries is the mortality age in general is rising. But then there is also associated with diseases, right? So now, instead of infectious diseases which were killing a lot of people in the 1900s and so on and so forth, it's the diabetes, it's the heart attack, it's the cancer,
Lifestyle.
it's the BP, and so on and so forth. Right? So we need to find a solution to all these things. That means you need to really understand the biology behind such kind of diseases and then translate it into therapeutic success. So disease biology is one of the key areas that we are going to work. We are also going to work in genomics, for example. So of course, now the way the genomics and the technology has transformed there is phenomenal again. If you look at the first human genome project, several hundreds of scientists from different universities got together to get the first genome sequence with billions of dollars of expenditure.
Absolutely.
Now what is it? I can do it in my lab for 50,000 rupees.
Yeah.
So that is the kind of transformation you are seeing in technology,
Cost.
genomics. I think a lot of future developments in healthcare will inherently depend upon our ability to generate this data and analyze this data. So genomics is very important for us. And lastly, it's in the space of biotechnology, how biotechnology is going to transform the future, right? So one area is synthetic biology or bioengineering in general. So we can now engineer various different organisms. We can engineer the microorganisms and make it produce what we want. It may be, valuable medicines, it could be valuable biochemicals, it could be biofuel, it could be many other different types of very valuable compounds. We can make bacteria or microorganisms in general to do that. We can engineer the tissues, we can engineer the cells. It's not very long that you can think of, probably you don't have to depend upon donors for organ transplant. You can make your own organs.
Right.
Okay. So technology is moving in that direction. So therefore, bioengineering is one of the key areas that we focus. So we are really focusing on these 4 or 5 key areas: computational biology, disease biology, genomics, synthetic biology, bioengineering. And so on.
Right. So coming back to now your personal journey, if we look at you have vast experience in drug discovery and bioinformatics. If you could throw some light on what all work you did in bioinformatics and drug discovery, and how do you see the future of bioinformatics and drug discovery in this space?
Right. So, of course, bioinformatics has a lot to offer to drug discovery process. I was primarily using bioinformatics and structural biology for drug discovery purposes. Of course, I'm talking from my industrial experience. Mostly I did this work in the industry. For the reasons of confidentiality, I won't be able to divulge everything.
Yeah, that's all right.
But I can definitely tell you how we used to approach the problem. Now, those were the days when the structure of proteins were coming in rapid succession. Crystallography has matured, NMR has matured, and a lot of structures were available for us. So prior to that, long time ago, the drug discovery involved discovering compounds either by serendipity or by sort of brute force screening. You screen a large number of compounds, something succeed, or by serendipity I identified something, like Alexander Fleming identified penicillin.
Yeah.
It's an antibacterial, right? So, but then availability of crystal structures and bioinformatics tools enabled a level of rational thinking in that. Can we really design a molecule or design a compound to inhibit or activate some protein molecules,
right,
which can be potentially used as therapeutics.
Right.
So that's where my entire experience in industry was about how to design compounds.
Right.
So now how to really make sure that that compound inhibits the enzyme and produces the relevant effects, pharmacological effects, and how do we really move it forward.
All right.
But then again, the technology has moved a long way, and now the influence of artificial intelligence and machine learning.
That was my next question, actually. Yeah.
So that's where it is actually
Moving.
It is going to really transform the drug discovery space as well.
Right.
So nothing will be done in a brute force manual kind of way, and a tree is going to be guided by artificial intelligence.
Yeah, so we are moving from a serendipity, by chance discovery to a predictive.
As brute force discovery
Yeah.
to a far more predictive side of the
Predictive side.
story.
Yes.
So that's how it is actually moving.
Right.
So many things which was very difficult earlier days. For example, it was very difficult to predict the toxicity of a molecule.
Right.
You can inhibit the enzyme or inhibit the protein and show that it is pharmacologically effective. What it does to the human body is very difficult to predict.
Right. But now we are moving
So
towards
now
that.
we are moving into predicting those kind of things. What is going to happen in terms of toxicity, or who is going to respond to a drug based on their genomic background, and
Right.
so on.
So companies are better equipped, are going to be equipped if students of today learn AI and biology and bioinformatics and all of
Absolutely.
that.
I think now it's not even the question of, I would think, not even the question of you have a choice. You can also learn AI and ML if you want. I
You
think
have
it's
to.
better compulsorily learn it because you have to live with it.
Right. So you are a visionary leader, transformed across various stages of your life. If we have to look back at your journey, what would you think would be one chapter you would like to share with the students? Because mostly Biotecnika subscribers are students or their parents who want to learn more about biotechnology. If you could share any one incident from your life which gave you a lot of insight on how to move your career forward successfully in this space, if you could share something which comes in your mind.
I don't know whether I can really think of one specific incident. I think it's a sort of chain of things.
Right.
Certainly, as I mentioned earlier, it's always very required that any knowledge be we find something that is translational, particularly beneficial for the society and people. That was always motivating me to do something in the space of biology. That's where a lot of translation can immediately happen, right?
Right.
So solving some of these crystal structures was the sort of time which taught me that how potentially you can use these crystal structures, that means three-dimensional structures of biological macromolecules, for the drug discovery kind of applications. So there were also a lot of lessons I learned from working with all these multinational companies, how they are actually making or moving their molecules into drug discovery. They were all really making use of the latest technology, including structural biology and bioinformatics kind of tools, to move the molecules to the next stages of development. I think these are the sort of continuous journey for me, which taught me at every stage that this is what you can really use to progress the area. I think one thing that we have to really develop as we progress in our career is always think of future. Don't really limit yourself to what you are doing today.
Right.
Always think of how I can really progress and what's probably going to be the future 10 years down the line, 20 years down the line.
Right.
That's the way to progress.
So now that you mentioned career, I would like to mention this. And even before this meeting, we were discussing about many universities are handing over paper degrees, while the skill gap still exists in between industry and academia. How, as Dean of Biosciences, you are going to solve this problem? What changes you plan to implement in the curriculum here so that it doesn't happen to the children here?
Correct. So I think one thing is, as I mentioned earlier, one of the pillars we are going to focus is on skill development.
Right.
So what we are trying to do, again, I think there are multiple types of skills which are very useful for a career in biotechnology. That could be, your ability to do experiments, your ability to compute, your ability to do many other areas, business or something like that. Right? So the way we have designed this curriculum itself is, there is a core set of subjects in biology that everybody should know and probably know very well.
Right.
In-depth understanding of that.
the base.
Right. So then, apart from that, we have done 2 more or 3 more things which are necessarily moving in this direction. One is our syllabus is based on major and minor subjects. Okay, so they will learn the core subjects as a major subject.
Right.
Then there is a substantial portion of credits they can spend it to learn very specific application areas. For example, a person who is learning biotechnology as a major in his undergrad, he can take pharmaceutical chemistry. So we are going to train them in organic synthesis and how to interpret the biological data for chemistry purposes, that is pharmacokinetics or pharmacodynamics or toxicity, or how do you really assess. So apart from biology knowledge, this person will get enough chemistry knowledge to really make a difference.
Wow.
It could also be like entrepreneurship.
Right.
So a person who is having the core domain knowledge in biotechnology and also having an entrepreneurial knowledge could be the best person to think about a startup company, and it will certainly guide his career in the startup space. We also have a minor in data science.
Right.
So like that, our entire syllabus is based on having a core knowledge and then lot of application areas around it, either in the form of minor subjects, or in the form of elective subjects, or in the form of research projects.
Right.
So it gives the opportunity for the students to choose and build an area of their interest or skill in an area of their interest and advance their career in that space.
Right. So, Dr. Subramanya, now that, let me start by telling you this fact that you started your PhD in the year when I was 2 years old, right? You've passed through a journey which most of us dream of. And you had several transformations, academia, industry, giving back to the society, Chanakya University, and all this vision now translating into reality. You have seen the real biotechnology when even the computers didn't exist, 1988, where you had one room as a computer in IISc, to today. You've seen all of that transformation. And now that we are seeing the merger of IT and BT with Bio-IT, Bioinformatics, AI, ML coming together, you've seen it all. So my question to you is, what do you see as the future of biotechnology? Because this question keeps coming up from my subscribers, that what's the future, what's the scope of biotechnology? So we would like to listen from the legend himself. What is the scope and future of biotechnology?
I think if you want me to explain the entire biotechnology in one word, I would just simply use the word future.
That's the future.
That is the future. The entire future is going to be shaped by many of these developments. Take some specific examples of how it's actually moving. I'm pretty sure that in the next few years, the breakthroughs will come in gene therapy, breakthroughs will come in gene editing. I'm pretty sure that it is going to lead to an entire disruption of the healthcare system that we are going to see today. The way we are going to be treated is absolutely going to be very different.
Right.
We have seen the development that are happening in artificial intelligence, the kind of data that's now available for analysis, and that's going to transform the entire healthcare system along with all these developments in biotechnology that's happening today.
Right.
That's what is going to happen in the healthcare. The way drug discovery is happening, it is going to be extremely different. Okay? It is going to use these new biotechnology things. The way we are producing many of the things. In today's world, if you want to say, if I have sort of, give me one more choice that with unlimited resources, what I can do, I think I will focus on sustainability.
That was my next question. What will be the one thing you would like to look at?
I think it is sustainability.
Right.
The way we are progressing and the way we are thinking about development and way we are building the economy and other things.
Right.
Is it sustainable? We have one planet available.
Yeah.
That planet has to be preserved.
There is no plan B.
Right?
Yes.
That is the key thing. I think sustainability is something will be immensely benefited from developments in biotechnology. Whether it is green energy, whether it is how to, carbon capture, or how
Green
to,
chemistry.
have sustainable agriculture, or
Right.
and all these environment and so on and so forth.
Right.
I think biotechnology is going to make an immense contribution to this fundamental question of, do we have the earth for our next generation or not?
Yeah, because we've still not figured out much, and I don't see it happening.
Right.
Okay, so we will have a small rapid fire round. This is something like I tell you a statement or a word, and then you reply back with whatever comes first in your mind. It's just for fun for our audience. It's like, okay, what's on the priority of the legend? So let's start. So the first word is Chanakya University.
Holistic leaders or future leaders.
Future leaders. Bioinformatics.
I think it's, again, sustainability for me.
Sustainability. Students.
Next generation, future leaders.
Biotechnology.
Future, as I said.
Drug discovery.
Personalized medicine.
Artificial intelligence.
Fascinating and scary sometimes.
Fascinating but scary sometimes. Yeah. Family.
Extremely important.
Health.
Without health, there is nothing else.
True. Planet Earth.
That's one place which is home to all of us.
Nature.
What?
Nature.
Nature.
Nature as in not the journal, the nature. Prakriti, nature.
You have to live in harmony with
Nature. Wow. So I think we have come towards the end of our podcast today. Thank you so much for your time. If you could share some few golden words of your brilliant mind with our students and subscribers, how should they foresee their future and career in biotech, if you could address them?
Right. My advice to all the students really is, there is a rapid development which is happening in the areas of science, technology, and artificial intelligence, and so on and so forth. And therefore, it's very important for you that you try to expose yourself, or at least have some basic understanding of how things are moving, what is going to be the future, what is important. Talk to many people, take advice, make an informed decision rather than just randomly following the crowd that I want to do this, I want to do that.
True. So we would like to conclude here by letting you know that a legend is not just a legend because he had to pass through so many challenges, because he learns over a period of time and gives back to the society. That's the reason Dr. Subramanya joined Chanakya University as the Dean of Biosciences, because he believes in transforming today's students as tomorrow's future leaders. And I wish you all the best, sir, in your endeavor. And I wish all the best to Chanakya University for all the hard work you guys are doing in this transformation and building the next generation leaders of the biotech industry. And it was truly a life-changing experience for me talking to you today before this interview and during this interview also. And to all our audience, make sure that you don't just learn from Dr. Subramanya's experience, but implement it in your career. His golden words are going to echo to you once again when you graduate, postgraduate, or probably are becoming a scientist of the future. Remember, you are the future of biosciences, and that's the reason you should learn from our legends. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you very much.